For us, it's a daily thing.
It's every day, right?
This is Mammoth Daily
We're going to take you inside the locker room
with Mike Folta.
We want this show to be about the fans, and we want this show to be driven by our Utah Mammoth community.
And Adrian Denny.
Fans can submit what they want to hear us talk about, what they want to hear Utah weigh in on. It's all going to be here.
Here's Mike and AD with you.
Utahns, countrymen, lend me your ears.
Right here on Mammoth Daily.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Welcome back. It's Mammoth Daily here on your Thursday. Adrian Denny with you after the 4-3 regulation win for the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers last night at the Delta Center. We'll talk all about that game. We'll hear from Mike Folta. We'll get his morning after. It's a Thursday expert, so Nick Olczyk will stop by for part 3 of his series, and we'll give you some of the best of Pay It Forward Day with your Utah Mammoth players from Tuesday. But first, as always, I want to welcome you back and thank you for joining us, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, the Utah Mammoth YouTube page, or SCG Plus. Make sure you've subscribed and you'll never miss an episode. We're with you Monday through Friday, 30 minutes or more from your Utah Mammoth radio broadcast team, Mike Folta and myself. So Mike will be along coming up in his morning after, but I want to start with head coach Andre Turney after that game because I liked what he said. I thought it brought up some good points, and I want to go on it. So we will hear from Bear right here, and then I'll tell you what I think of it.
We knew the guys were ready. We played a good game. Just need to find a way to win. That's at the end of the day. That's the bottom line. It's playing a good game. It's like hitting the post. I mean, you have no points when you hit the post. So you need to stop hitting the post and go post in, finding the way to win games. You know, the first thing that nobody will convince me our guys are not resilient. You know, through adversity, you saw how they react during the game, the prep for the game, the way we start the game, et cetera, et cetera. I think our guys are digging deep as well. I think it was last week really demanding schedule, and I felt the guys did everything they could to manage the rest the right way. And today we had energy. Today we were not a tired team. So that as well, we learned that as a young team, and they will have a lot of teaching moment in that game. You know, there's one thing to be a good NHL player. There's another thing to play brand of hockey like Florida play and the physicality and everything, and they will have a lot of good teaching opportunity for us.
So Bear there mentions Florida, the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. So they're without their two best players, but they've still got that fabric, that identity, that ability to find ways to win. And they were the more experienced team, and they found a way to do so. And Karel Vejmelka stopped the first 18 shots that he saw in the third period before Florida scored off of that broken play on the faceoff and won it 4-3. So Utah returns home this week. So you're finally home, right? And you play LA, who you've never beaten, still never beaten them. Played Florida, who you still have never beaten. But Bear right there talking about something that I think is going to be big in the second half of the season after Christmas when you get settled in for a 7-game homestand. He said the energy was there. And he mentioned that, and it's so big, it's so huge, and we've talked about workload that just to the point that I'm as sick of it as you are, but it's reality. But when you're home, when you're sleeping in your own bed, when you're in your routine, the wear and tear of getting on a charter and getting off in the middle of the night 7 times like Utah did in the last 10 days on that trip. But he said the energy was there. We weren't a tired team, and that's great to hear. He loved the energy, the work ethic, and there's more where that came from coming up in the second half of the year. Quick 3-game homestand. You get 2 of the toughest 3 teams you've ever played. And for you Utah fans, it seems like a recurring nightmare. All those road games, then you come home and you lose the first 2 to 2 teams that are tough. But you got to look at the reality of it. And Bear said he liked how his guys have been resilient, and I think that's big. And I think you're going to see it push through again. What it kind of reminds me of is Utah struggles at home last year, and it was a recurring Groundhog Day for the first couple months of the season, and they just kept going and ultimately got used to being at home and not overcompensating and not trying to overperform and be a star and be a different team than they were on the road when they were playing pretty simple and having success. But that's what it kind of reminded me of when he said resiliency. And I don't think that anything that's happened, the way Utah's losing games, it's not, you talk about stuff not being sustainable. This isn't something I see happening for the whole year. I see too much good. And I'm being honest. I call it how I see it. Through 20 years of experience in professional hockey at 3 levels: the ECHL, the AHL, and the NHL. And hockey's hockey, and you see it. And every team's different. Every team has a different story. Every team has a different identity. This year's team is different than last year's team. You've added some bodies. You've added some really good players. But you've seen some different line combos. You're working on chemistry. You're working on cohesion. You're working on your team identity. You're always trying to get better. And you think you know everything. And you think, okay, here we go. Ready to go. Start this season. And you're always learning. You're learning about the team, learning about each other. Coaches are always learning. They're the first ones in every day and looking for what's the best solution to have success. So I for us on the show, as we break things down, I think the more we watch this team, the more we learn stuff and the more we see things. And it's a team that's trying to find a way to win close games. It's in every single game. And then we're talking about 3 or 4 minutes where they didn't handle a momentum swing when things went south the first time, and 2, 3, 4 times later, game gets away. Didn't get away on Wednesday night. Bear was over complimentary of his group for the way they erased that 3-1 deficit they did. And Dylan Gunther took over the game. And Bear was very complimentary of him, a 22-year-old, and just kind of his maturity and his way that he manages during the course of a game. Said age didn't have a lot to do with it. But you're always learning stuff. And stuff we said a month ago, we watched a month more of hockey, and we've gotten a month more of sample size. NHL is different every year. And this year we're seeing, the compacted schedule before the Olympic break. We're learning about that and seeing how teams adjust and see it's tougher to draw penalties just with the energy, but Bear liked the energy. And that's going to be huge because Utah's going to have energy when the schedule evens out, when it lightens up second half of the year and it catches up to the other teams. We talked about it in the third period on Wednesday with our players only meeting that Rod led on Mammoth Daily on Wednesday, but still learning about this team, still trying to find the combos that click, the identity, you added Nate Schmidt, great player, JJ Peterka, great player, Brandon Tanev, great player, experienced player. And you've got Daniil Boot now, you got Lamoureux, and you're just trying to find it to click, and it is what it is. And you've got 2 wins in your last 9 games. You've had a chance to win 8 of those, and when you have a chance to win, you're a player or 2 away. And I see it turning. I really do with this team in terms of trades, acquisitions. You're without your leading goal scorer in Logan Cooley. I don't think it affects how Bill operates. If he sees an opportunity to improve the team, he's going to do it, whether Logan Cooley's in the lineup or not. And if there's a trade out there, if Bill likes something, he'll make a move. Right now, you haven't really seen any trades happen, NHL to NHL team. So it's kind of quiet. It's before Christmas. I'm 100% comfortable with this roster as it is. They've scored 3 goals or more in 8 of 11. They're putting the puck in the net. The Karel Vejmelka may have gone through a rougher patch in November. I feel like that he's on his A game. We saw Vitek Vanacek stop 21 to 22 in Calgary on Saturday. I think that's close. I think they're close. And you just got to keep pushing. You just got to keep going. Nothing's ever all of a sudden going to be easy. There's never all of a sudden going to be answers. There's no golden tickets. There's no magic wands. You have to run through it to get where you want to be. You got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And we had a great tweet come to us on Hockey Night in Utah postgame edition on Wednesday night from McKay and said, at what point we were supposed to be a playoff team? At what point do I just move on and get taken out of my misery here? It was a great point. I thought it was a fantastic tweet. It brought up something that maybe we haven't covered enough of with the team and the expectation. Bill Armstrong has always said that playoffs is the expectation. Playoffs is the expectation after an 82-game regular season. And Bill has stated that with this schedule before Christmas, they just want to be in a position to be able to make a move in the second half of the year. It was realized, it was noticed what this schedule is for the Mammoth in the first half of the year. Nobody ever said this was going to be a playoff team on December 11th. However, entering business on December 10th, the Mammoth were in the wild card spot. So we're not talking about a team that's 12 points out. Has there been ups and downs? Ups in October, downs in November, ups and downs in December, winning 2 in a row and now losing 3 in a row. But there's still 50 games left. 60% of them are at home, where you're different. You're a different team when you're not going back to back and on the charter and getting off of it in the middle of the night. And you listen to these guys and they want to win. And Bear says his team's resilient. NHL players are resilient. You don't get to this level without being resilient. These guys go through so much on their way. If they weren't elite human beings from a mental standpoint, from a resiliency standpoint, they wouldn't be here. And they wouldn't be in the National Hockey League, regardless of talent. You see guys in the ECHL and the AHL that have NHL talent, they don't have the NHL mentality, and they're minor leaguers. In the NHL, you got to have the mentality. You got to have the elite level of skill. So tough to swallow, not easy. You give up a goal in the final minute. Florida controlled that third period. Bear said we weren't able to take anything in the third period. We took 2 penalties and couldn't make anything happen. Couldn't get the momentum back. So, and again, you're doing it without Cooley, and I think they've done a great job without Cooley. We'll hear from Mike in the morning after, coming up in just a few minutes. But we adjusted on the fly, and I like the lines. I think Boot with Carconi and McBain's a great fit. Hayton with Gunther and Lawson Krause, I think, is a good fit. Team misses Cooley more than anything in the entire world, more than anything you could ever miss. But you got to move forward, and I don't feel any less confident in this team without Cooley in the lineup every day. And you want him back as soon as possible, but they can still keep moving forward. Let's hear from Dylan Gunther after the game. Bear talked about resiliency and liking his group, and here's Dylan on how do you win close games, and what's the next step?
I think that we're in every game and just have to find a way to get the 2 points. I think just shoot a few more pucks. I mean, be comfortable in those situations. When the game's tight, I don't think we have to get on our heels. Just keep pressing, keep attacking them, and it's unfortunate, but we play again in 2 nights, so make sure we get one to close it out.
Yeah, and as I said, the home struggles didn't last last year. I don't see this lasting. I really don't. I mean, you can be dramatic and say the sky's falling. We're realistic here on Mammoth Daily, and honest, and that's it. Just calling it how we see it with our nearly 3 decades of experience in professional hockey at all 3 levels. And I think that's the great thing of Mammoth Daily is you've got the you got the experience that we bring you, and the connections and the insight to the team, and being in the locker room every day and seeing these guys and talking to Bear and having our broadcast team meetings with Bear that we have every single day, and the information we're able to relay back to you as I come to you speaking from the heart. That's what I have. It's not easy. It's a heartbreaking game to give up a goal in the final minute. It's not what anybody wanted. It's not what you work for. I mean, with all the good stuff, there's no A- or B+. In the NHL, it's an A or an F. You win or you lose, or as Bear says, you win or you learn. And this group is still growing as a group, still trying to find some things to click. And now without Logan Cooley, it's looking to click in some different spots, but still great. Like our roster, Bill sees something that makes sense, he'll make the move. His trades have always worked out since he's been an NHL GM. So if he does, feels good about it. If he doesn't, not going to force anything, not going to panic. I'm just going to stay the course and know that you've got a coaching staff and a team that wants to win more than anything, and it hurts them when you live it. As fans of the team, it's tough when you're living it. It's another level, but certainly understand the disappointment, and just kind of the shock of winning 7 straight and then going into a bit of a spin, trying to get back on track. Let's hear what Mike thinks, and Mike's morning after right here on Mammoth Daily.
All right, welcome into your Mike's Morning After. Following a 4-3 regulation loss to the Florida Panthers, I'm here in an undisclosed location, standing in front of a beautiful and wonderfully smelling real Christmas tree. For those of you who know, you know. But a disappointing one tonight. My theme for this morning after is patience. And it's not because this is not company speak. This is not a spokesperson for the team trying to sell unfounded hope. No. This is different than that. My theme is patience because that's what Florida had tonight against Utah. They were patient in the third period. And what did they do? They kept Utah in front of them. They didn't allow anything off the rush. Their defense stayed high, and they kept dumping the puck in the zone over and over and over again in the third period. And they kept pounding and pounding and pounding away until finally they were able to chip one in on the 19th shot of the third. Patience, because that's what Florida was in the third period here tonight. But patience also because when we make decisions or even speak out of emotion, we're often a little out of balance. And I think it's important for us to stick to the cold, hard facts and address the cold, hard facts of what's in front of us and analyze the situation for what it is, not like what we feel it is. Because I feel the pain after this loss. And talking with the fans after the game, I know a lot of you physically feel the disappointment and pain after this loss as well. But as you type out your comment, I want you to delete it and then type it back out again. And hopefully that will just force you to take a beat and speak about what's truly in front of us and not just what you feel. Because what's in front of us with Utah right now, just talking about tonight's game against Florida, it's not all bad. There's a lot of good here. I thought the line changes that head coach Andre Tourigny made, the second and third lines, I thought they were really effective for a lot of the night. Dylan Guenther scoring a couple breakaways, converting when Utah needed him to get back into that game. Mammoth fighting back from down 2 goals. John Marino with some beautiful assists and some incredible passing up the ice. Karel Vejmelka in fine form tonight. I mean, he let in 4 goals, but he was outstanding throughout the game. He stopped the first 18 shots of the third period. And I would say over the last 4 appearances we've seen out of Veggie, this is the Karel Vejmelka that was signed to an extension last season. So if he is playing the way that he is playing right now, if he continues to do that, then we're going to keep seeing Utah in 1-goal games at the end of games. They're going to have a chance to win every single night like they did here tonight. So that's the good. There's a lot of good in front of us. And just because we lose by a goal late doesn't mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater. Now, it wasn't all good. I thought it wasn't the best game we've seen out of Clayton Keller and JJ Peterka. They were on the ice for a couple of goals against. I thought Nick Schmaltz on that line made some really good plays, was good on the backtrack a few times and helped free up some loose pucks. But I didn't think that Peterka and Keller were at their best tonight in the matchups they had against a really tough Bennett-Verhaeghe line for Florida that cashed in 3 times tonight. And in big games against really good teams, you need your best players to be your best players. I think I compare this Florida team without Matthew Tkachuk and without Alexander Barkov to the Golden State Warriors in their heyday without Steph Curry. Even without Steph Curry, the Warriors still have Kevin Durant and Clay and Draymond and a team that is capable of beating any other NBA team on any given night and doing so over and over again. Just because they don't have their superstar game-changing player doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden a bad or even an average team. And that's the same thing with Florida. So much of this core returned from last year that this identity is ingrained all the way throughout the guys they've brought up from the minor leagues. But you still have guys like Brad Marchand, who is playing an unbelievable clip at 37 years of age, is a future Hall of Famer. Sam Bennett from the back half of last year proved that he is one of the most indispensable players in the NHL, not just because of his physical ability, but because, he can score the puck. Also, we didn't talk about Sam Reinhart that much, but he was a 50-goal scorer a couple of years ago, another incredible player for them. Gustav Forsling and Aaron Ekblad are 2 defensemen who were frustrating McDavid and Draisaitl on a nightly basis in the finals the last couple of years. And then, Sergei Bobrovsky, a guy who's won 2 Vezinas, who, if you had to pick one goaltender to play in one game and win you one game, it's a short list of guys that you would put in net. Sergei Bobrovsky is on that list. It's still an elite hockey team. It hasn't been perfect for them this year, but talking to people within the organization, like, they are not worried one bit because they've seen everything and they know that if they're patient and if they continue to play their game, that they're going to be where they want to be at the end of the season and at the end of each game night as well. I liked a lot of Utah's game tonight. I would have liked it a lot better if they could have come away with a win, but you got to find a way to salvage 2 points on the homestand coming up on Friday against Seattle. So that's when we'll see everybody next. Back at the Delta Center Friday nights against the Kraken.
So we are off and running. Nick Olczyk is going to join us coming up next, our Thursday expert. He is in a very unique spot during games. He's between the benches. He's the eyes and ears of Hockey Night in Utah on the ice level. So we'll hear from Nick, then we'll look back at Tuesdays. Great. Pay it forward day. See where the guys were, see what they were up to. Hear from Sean Dursey as well as we were on right here. It's Thursday edition of Mammoth Daily.
Let's hear from the experts.
Well, the people called and we listened. They demanded Nick Olczyk come back for another Thursday expert. So here we are, part 3 with Nicky O. And Nick, we've been talking with you about you being down between the benches during games. At home games, you see the game from a totally different plane than what most of us witness the action. And just we want to get into it in this segment and start to understand better the perspective that you have that the rest of us don't get. And to be honest, very few people in hockey get, because there's not many seats that are that low.
Yeah.
But from the guy who has the best seat in the house, what can you tell us about your perspective about the games at that level that the normal person calling the game at the top of section 6-7 would never understand?
Oh, Mikey, first off, great to be with you guys yet again. I did check my bank account, and I don't think that check is cleared that you promised in an earlier episode. So maybe get your people on that and have them talk to my people, and maybe if it clears, we'll appear on another episode after this. But no, great to be with you guys yet again, and you guys continue to do such a wonderful job. So appreciate you making some time for me. I feel so lucky to be down in that spot. And Mikey, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's not only the best seat in the house, but not every team in the National Hockey League or every national network puts someone down there. It's such a unique perspective where you're trying to pick up on the fine things, the little things, the things that go unseen by those that are sitting a couple 100 feet away. The one thing that I think I always try to talk about when I am discussing my job between the benches is how I prepare. And I know we delved into a little bit towards the end of a prior episode, but just to give people a little bit more, I prepare for games so differently between the benches. I worry less about the storylines and the stats of players, and you got to have those on hand, no question. You got to know those off the tip of your cap for sure. But my job and my role down there is to talk about the things that I see and hear that nobody else in the building can.
Yeah.
And that's a real responsibility to be so aware at all times. It's controlled chaos for most of the time, no doubt. When there are changes going on both benches, another thing we've talked about in an earlier episode, the communication on the bench. And another area too being the referees, the linespersons, the talks that they're having with the coaches, with the players, breaking up scrums. So there's a lot that's going on in a 60-minute hockey game, and a 60-minute game that feels like 60 years sometimes, considering all of the extracurriculars that go on, or all of the goals, or all the things you pick up. But I think some of my favorite things that I really try to look for when I'm down there is conversations, not just between teammates, but players on opposing benches.
Oh.
It's if I were to take everybody down to my setup down there, it's simple, but it's sweet. I've got a table with where my mic and my headset is hooked into. I've got 2 buttons on that little box. It's a talkback button, so I can speak to our great producer, Dougie Foster, and our director, Paul Hemming, also known as Chopper. And then I've got a button that's worn out a little bit more. It's not as sharp and fine-edged as it was when it was once new, that being the mute button. I don't want to risk any sort of fine for our broadcast catching any sort of profanity, which is probably the main language that hockey players speak. Let's just be very real about that. But there was a time earlier in the year where Utah Mammoth were playing the Calgary Flames. And I noticed a conversation that was happening between Jack McBain and Adam Klapka. It was taking place probably maybe the 3rd or 4th shift into the game. And then just a little bit after that, we got to a TV timeout. And as opposed to them talking to one another, and by talking, I mean verbally jousting, from each other's benches, they convened right in front of me between the benches. And as soon as they did that, both linespersons skated over in a frantic hurry to break them up. And I didn't hear exactly what they were saying, but the vibe was those guys were going to shed their mitts at some point. And one of the things that I take a lot of pride in is, in my role as a broadcaster in general, is not just to talk about what's happened, but using your sensory skills to talk about what could happen, to predict what might happen. And are you going to get wrong predictions? Absolutely. But sometimes you got to put your you-know-what on the line and say, hey, I just saw this. Let's keep an eye on it because it could happen. And in that game, I recognized that. And I said, hey, just so everybody knows, Jack McBain and Adam Klapka are not only 2 big humans, but they're 2 big humans who aren't exactly happy with one another, and they just had a long chat. Let's see where this goes, but they very well could end up fighting at center ice, and when we get to hear the ding-ding bell at Delta Center go off as both those guys are throwing some fists of flesh. And I said it. It was instinctual for me, and lo and behold, the next TV timeout, both those guys get sent out there. The puck is dropped, and I think before the puck even hit the ice, both those guys were in the midst of a tussle on the ice. But again, unless you're really watching for those things from a seat in section 5, you maybe don't pick it up. But for me, being in that spot, it was right there in front of me. So those are the different things that I try to keep a keen eye on throughout the course of a hockey game, and knowing that my role down there is to talk about all sorts of things that maybe others can't see or hear.
What section are you, Nick?
It's a great question, Mike. Yeah, I really hope that our fans, our great fans, and the wonderful ushers that are around don't get mad at me, but I have no clue. I think it is. I think it might be. I think it's at the bottom of 7, right? The bottom of 7.
Yeah, well, you're at the bottom of 7, but you have your own section. It's like section 0.5 or something like that, right?
Well, I
mean,
guess
you're a little
you could
cutout.
say that. I guess you could say that. Yeah, I would probably maybe say that's it's section NO, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. For now, I've been the only one to be there for home games for our broadcasts, and but like I said, it is such a pleasure to be down there and just to see the heat of battle, and when things go well and when things don't go well, it's equally as exciting to get a peek behind the curtain and inside what goes on the bench and in between both teams.
It's not just your eyes and ears, Nick, but you're in the middle of the action. Like, you got hockey pucks flying, you got sticks that
I did last
in
year.
the
Last year,
neighborhood.
AD. I'm just gonna another quick story time here. Yeah, that's where Mikey's pointing. And for those that don't know and are maybe listening on an audio only version of the podcast here, Mikey was pointing at his big rear. And in hockey terms, that's a good thing to have. That's a good thing to have a rear, especially with how well Mikey Folta skates in his men's league games. But I got hit last year pretty good. That left a bruise that was very evident for probably about 2.5 weeks after, and it turned just about every color in the rainbow. It was Brett Pesce at that time playing for the New Jersey Devils. There was a neutral zone faceoff on the opposite dot, furthest away from the benches. New Jersey was killing a penalty. They won the draw, and Brett just wanted to just send it 64 miles an hour the other way off the boards and into the Utah zone to try to kill the clock. And lo and behold, he didn't clear it off the boards in front of me. He cleared it right off my keister. And let's just say I'm very glad that I have such wonderful reflexes, and I say that partially tongue-in-cheek. Because if I wouldn't have turned, there's a good chance that I may have never been able to have children in my life with where it hit me and how quickly it was coming. Maybe a little bit verbose for some, but that's just the reality of that situation. So down there, luckily, that's kind of been the only situation that I've had any sort of close calls with. I usually try to get my arms up if there's sticks coming by or guys looking to make a physical play right between both benches. But the one thing you cannot do, anybody else listening and who has had experience between the benches calling a game from there, they will know this. Hands in pockets equals bruises and cuts. You do not want to have your hands in your pockets at all, even though it is freezing down there, because you never know when you got to get a hand up to try to protect yourself. But I will take those bruises every single day if it means getting to call a game and see a game from a vantage point that not many other people around the world have the opportunity to see.
I love that, Nikki. Yeah, and you also, with that puck, did that puck make it to a young kid as well?
Yes, that's one of the other wonderful parts of being down there is when loose pucks jump up and I dive and make a snagging grab that would make a platinum glover even impressed. I always make sure that I turn around and I always try to find a young fan, a young kid who is instantly going to go home and put that under their pillow and sleep with it for a couple of nights thereafter. And it's actually funny too, as I'm walking into the between the benches area before the game even starts, I always turn around and survey the fans that are in that area. So that way, when I do get a puck and I turn around, I'm not seeing who's where for the first time. And I love our fans. I love our fans just as much as anybody does. But it kind of pains me a little bit when I turn around and there's not a single kid in sight. I want our adult fans to have the best time, and I want them to sit as close as they can. But there's nothing like getting a puck, seeing a young fan, pointing them out, saying, "This one's for you. tossing it over the glass, a perfect toss. It lands in their father or their mother's hands, and then the handoff from the parent to the child, and just seeing how happy they are, like receiving the gift they've wanted all year on Christmas Day. It's a really special part too, to be able to connect with our fans that way. And safe to say, whether you're a kid or whether you're a very passionate fan that's an adult, if a puck comes to me, it's going to someone, and hopefully they're able to cherish that puck because it went from probably going 100 miles an hour on the ice sheet to now in their pocket and maybe even on their mantle at home.
But to your butt first, right?
That one, Mikey, I actually took a sanitizer cloth, and I just kind of look. I shower 2 times a day. I don't know about our listeners out there and you guys. I'm a 2 times a day, sometimes 3 times a day shower because my hygiene is very important. But I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing wrong with the puck. And actually, there was a little dent in the puck too. There was a little bit of a dent in the puck, because I once was told that I got buns of steel. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And one of the cool parts about being down there is trying to dodge pucks and sticks and amidst the heat of action that's going on the ice.
Nick, when you get down there for the game, you're there until the game's over, right?
Yeah.
There's no way out. There's no escape.
Let's just say, I'm fortunate to say this. I've never been to jail. I don't plan on it. But if that's the most jail-like cell and box that I'm going to be in my life, I'll take that every day. Because you're right, AD. When I'm down there, I don't leave until the game is over, and I am confided to that space, and I get comfortable. Our 2 ushers and security guards on either side, Casey and Brad, they do an incredible job. If I need some water, maybe I need a little snacky snack from time to time, they're always more than willing to help me out. But it's a really great place to see a game from, and I always make sure that I'm comfortable. And it's even big enough if I could probably bring a cot. I could probably bring a cot and lay down in there. That's how big that space is. So very fortunate to be part of the broadcast from that area of the ice.
Well, hopefully there's no chamber pots down there. But I did want to ask you, Nick. I did want to ask you. You told us some great stories. You told us about McBain, but who's the chattiest Mammoth down there? Who is talking the most?
Yeah,
could be to the other team. Just in general, we know that Ian Cole likes to communicate with his teammates. But what are you hearing down there?
Yeah. And the cool part too is Mikey, when I'm between the benches, and maybe another thing that our fans don't know is depending on the period, forwards and defensemen will be on different sides of the bench. So for the first period, the forwards are on the side of the bench that's closest to me. So that way they can go on attack quicker. So essentially they're further up the ice on the bench. So if maybe someone wants to spring into action and catch the opposition in behind, that's the side of the bench where the forwards are. And when it's the forwards, Brandon Tanev, Turbo is the guy that I don't think that there is an off switch for that mug that he's got. And I love it, because not only is he giving it to the opposition, but he is also communicating to his teammates things that he sees on the ice. And it's not only the guys that he's playing with, it's also to maybe a guy like Clayton Keller, letting him know, hey, I saw this, something that they were trying to do defensively. This could be an area where you're able to execute on and maybe catch them sleeping. So that type of communication from Brandon Tanev is always very evident. Michael Carcone, not exactly shy, throwing a couple words the other way, especially after he probably just blew by one of the opposing players, considering what a great skater he is. And defensively, one thing that I've really picked up on there last year, and I love that you brought up Ian Cole, an outstanding teammate. He's been a great defenseman for a long time, not just communicating with his teammates, but also a lot to the referees, trying to get explanations to plays that were called, that were not called, why the whistle went, why the whistle didn't go. But one thing I've had the great pleasure of seeing this year is the constant communication between 2 countrymen on the back end who are at very different stages in their career. Mikhail Sergachev's won 2 Stanley Cups, and Dmitry Simashev is hoping one day that he will also have 2 Stanley Cup rings. And to have a guy like that not only you speak the same language of, but to have a guy that's going to be able to help you through the lulls, the highs, the lows throughout the course of a game and a season. And there are often times where those guys, either a TV timeout or after the whistle goes while plays it had just concluded, those guys are talking a lot. And it's Dimitri asking Mikhail questions. It's Mikhail giving Dimitri hints and tips and different things that he's seeing on the ice to try to help out the kid just a little bit more. Now, if you ask me what they're talking about, those are kind of guesses because a lot of it is Привет, как дела, хорошо, давай, спасибо, до свидания. I just said like 4 Russian phrases that's like please, thank you, hello, and have a good day. I can guarantee you that they're not saying that, except maybe divai, which means hurry up. Let's go, hurry up. So maybe there's a little bit of that going on. So what exactly they're saying, I don't know. But from just seeing the intensity of their talks from time to time, also the pointing of where they're trying to discuss, those are the things that I don't want to use the word to be all like cheesy and sentimental and be a heartwarming, but it's great to see an older player taking a younger guy under his wing, just as hockey players learn throughout the course of their career, like when Mikhail Sergachev was in Tampa Bay, learning from one of the best to ever do it, that being Victor Hedman. So the communication is a big thing amongst players on the same team. And when there's a message that wants to be sent, there's also a whole heck of a lot of that goes on the ice. I just got to make sure I'm ready to push that mute button on my microphone.
Awesome, Nick. Hey, thank you for joining us for another edition here on the Thursday Expert. We could always go on all day, but we know you got that dinner reservation, the bone-in ribeye.
Yep.
Is that what you're going with
tonight?
Oh,
yeah. Bone-in ribeye. Give me a bone-in ribeye, a shrimp cocktail to start, a bone-in ribeye, and then maybe a little sweet potato casserole. Ruth's Chris, that's my spot. So you'll find me there a couple times a week, to say the least.
Next time, Mike, we got to do food with Nick on the Thursday Expert.
If Mike's buying, I'm in.
Only problem is Nikki likes to start with dessert, Adrian. I am just preparing you now.
Yes, that is very true. They got a great peanut butter cup dessert there, but maybe we'll dive in and we gotta watch our knuckles though, because we're gonna be going in hands first. But great to be with you guys as always. You guys do such a phenomenal job. Appreciate it very much, and look forward to chatting with you guys again soon.
Fun 3-parter there with Nick. We'll see what we've got next in our expert series. We've already done 4 parts with Don Moore, 3 parts with Nick Olczyk. Just another thing you can only get here from us on Mammoth Daily. Well, Tuesday was a great day. Pay it forward day. One of the 5 core values at the Smith Entertainment Group is being community obsessed. And Pay It Forward Day has been an extremely great thing that's happened at SEG for the Jazz and the Mammoth and the players and the coaches and broadcasters. There's Jack McBain for those of you on YouTube at Smith's on Tuesday, picking up some tabs on some groceries, meeting some fans, and paying it forward to Utah. And that's what we love to see. Engaging in our community and having our players out and just making a difference, doing something positive, fun, especially around the holidays, and encouraging the state to get involved as well, to pay it forward to others. So you had Jack at Smith's, you had the rest of the guys out at Target, Dursey, Keller, Yusuf Alamaki, Mikhail Sergachev helping kids out. There's Dylan Gunther serving up some diet raspberry dreams at the Swig. Andre Cherney, Liam O'Brien, Lawson Krause were out working with the Murdoch dealerships on some great projects and great donation drives that we were working on with them. So fun day. The guys at the Target each assigned a great kid, help them Christmas shop for their family, and picked up the tab, and everybody got everything they wanted. It was a really magical Pay It Forward day. And as we talked about with Kim and Nick yesterday on Hockey Night Utah, it doesn't have to be just one day. You can pay it forward at any time. Just be kind. Say hi to a neighbor. Hold the door for somebody. Just give somebody a nice smile. Stop at a crosswalk. Don't be that car at the crosswalk that if somebody has the right of way and they're crossing and you're, 18 inches away from the border of the crosswalk. Just take a deep breath. Let them go. be friendly, be kind. It's so easy to be kind. It's so much more fun when you can, be nice and bring joy to others as the Mammoth did. Here's Sean Dursey on Pay It Forward Day.
SEG Pay It Forward Day. It's second year in a row. I think it's been an awesome day. Just smiles, laughs for us to come out here and just see all the happy faces, and being in the community has been incredible. I think SEG's done a great job of kind of not only involving us in the community, but the Jazz and ownership group. I think from top to bottom, we've all said how important it is for us to be in the community and give back to the community. And now to have this day, last year to be with John at the coffee shop, and now to be out in Target and doing some Christmas shopping, and I mean just the smiles. It's you get emotional thinking about just how important this time of year is and how fortunate we all are, and to give back to the community, I think, is the least we can do, and I'm just happy that we were able to do that today. I was with Perseda, and lucky enough, her brother was here as well. JJ had her brother, but their parents, friends, she was so kind. I told her to be a little more selfish, but I'm just kidding. No, she did a great job. She got a ton of stuffed animals for herself. We did a good job. Her parents are going to be thrilled.
So after a 4-3 loss to Florida, we're disappointed, but you can look at those guys and just be so proud of them and how they represent our state and represent us as fans of the Mammoth. And it's great, and they love it, and they're so generous, and those guys wouldn't miss anything that happened on Tuesday for the world. Folks, thanks for joining us for this Thursday edition of Mammoth Daily. Me and Mike back on your Friday. Big game day with Seattle, our Friday free-for-all, our local hockey roundup. So be right back here tomorrow for your Friday free-for-all edition of Mammoth Daily.